My friends, today I want to speak directly to your heart. Have you ever felt that sting of being ignored by someone you deeply care about? That moment when your messages go unanswered, your calls unreturned, and you find yourself staring at your phone, wondering what went wrong? I've been there. Many of us have walked that lonely road of uncertainty and rejection. When she ignores you, it feels like the world has suddenly gone dark. The sun still shines outside, people still move about their day, but inside your mind, a storm is brewing. What did I do wrong? Does she no longer care? Has someone else captured her attention? These questions can consume us, leading us down paths that often make the situation worse rather than better. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 critical mistakes that men make when a woman ignores them. These are pitfalls I've witnessed countless times, errors I've personally stumbled into, and lessons that have been learned through the heartache of many. By recognizing these mistakes, you can avoid them and respond in ways that maintain your dignity and potentially salvage the relationship, whatever form it may take. But before we dive into these mistakes, I want you to understand something fundamental. Your worth is not determined by another person's attention. Let me say that again. Your value as a human being is not measured by whether someone responds to your text messages or returns your calls. You were created with purpose, with unique gifts and qualities that make you who you are. Remember this truth as we explore these mistakes together. The first mistake many make when faced with silence is panic. Yes. Panic. That overwhelming rush of anxiety that floods your system when you realize she hasn't responded in hours, maybe even days. Your heart rate increases, your palms get sweaty, and your thoughts race at 1,000,000 miles per hour. Why isn't she responding? Did I say something wrong? Is she with someone else? Has she forgotten about me entirely? This panic can drive you to actions you'll later regret. I remember a time in my own life when panic took over. I had been seeing someone for several months, and suddenly her responses became less frequent, then stopped altogether. Instead of taking a deep breath and giving her space, I let panic drive my decisions. I sent message after message, each more desperate than the last. I checked social media constantly to see if she was active elsewhere. I even drove by places I knew she frequented, hoping for a glimpse of her or an explanation. The panic consumed me, and with each desperate action, I pushed her further away. Panic makes us lose perspective. It blinds us to the reality that there could be countless reasons for her silence that have nothing to do with us. Perhaps she's dealing with personal issues, family problems, work stress, or simply needs time to process her feelings. Panic robs us of the patience to wait and the clarity to see the situation from a balanced viewpoint. So what's the alternative to panic? Calm acceptance of the present moment. When you notice she hasn't responded, acknowledge the feeling of disappointment or concern that arises within you. Take a deep breath. Remind yourself that her lack of response is not a reflection of your worth. Give her the space and time she may need. Focus on the activities and people in your life that bring you joy and fulfillment. This measured response preserves your dignity and gives her the room she might need to come back to the conversation when she's ready. The second mistake is overcommunication, bombarding her with messages, calls, emails, or connections on every possible platform. This is often a direct result of the panic we just discussed. You think maybe she didn't see my text, so I'll send another. Maybe she doesn't check her texts often, so I'll call. Maybe she's more active on social media, so I'll message her there too. Before you know it, you've sent 15 messages across 5 different platforms, all saying essentially the same thing. Why aren't you responding to me? This avalanche of communication can feel suffocating to the recipient. Even if she was simply busy and planned to respond later, seeing this flood of messages might make her feel pressured, annoyed, or even alarmed by what appears to be obsessive behavior. What started as a simple delay in communication has now become a reason for her to deliberately avoid engaging with you. I've witnessed this pattern play out with countless individuals who come to me for advice after the fact. One young man told me how he sent 28 text messages over 2 days when his girlfriend didn't respond while on a family trip. Another admitted to calling his love interest 17 times in one evening when she didn't pick up. In both cases, what might have been a temporary silence turned into a permanent end to the relationship because of this overwhelming response. The truth is, overcommunication signals insecurity and a lack of respect for boundaries. It suggests that your need for immediate reassurance outweighs her right to respond in her own time. It can make her feel hunted rather than desired, pressured rather than appreciated. Instead, practice the rule of proportional response. If you've sent a message and received no reply, wait at least 24 hours before sending a single follow-up. Make this second message light and non-accusatory. Hope all is well with you. Looking forward to hearing from you when you have time. Then step back. Give her the space to respond or not respond. This measured approach shows confidence, respect for her autonomy, and emotional maturity, qualities that are far more attractive than desperate persistence. The third mistake is perhaps the most damaging to your self-respect and any chance of salvaging the relationship: begging. When panic and overcommunication don't produce the desired response, many men resort to pleading, making promises, or offering to change fundamental aspects of themselves just to regain her attention. Please talk to me. I'll do anything. I'll change. I'll be better. Just tell me what I did wrong. Begging comes from a place of fear and scarcity. It stems from the belief that this person is your only chance at happiness, that without her acknowledgement, your life loses meaning. This is never true, my friends. Never. There is an abundance of connection, love, and relationship potential in this world. Attaching your entire sense of well-being to one person's response is a recipe for suffering. Furthermore, begging rarely, if ever, achieves the desired outcome. Even if it temporarily guilts someone into responding, it doesn't generate genuine desire or respect. Instead, it often creates a dynamic of pity, obligation, or even contempt. No healthy relationship can thrive on such a foundation. I once counseled a man who had written a lengthy email essentially begging his ex-girlfriend to give him another chance after she had stopped responding to his messages. In this email, he promised to change everything, from his career path to his friendship circle to his personal interests, essentially offering to erase his entire identity to please her. When I asked him if he would want someone to be with him out of pity rather than desire, the realization hit him hard. Begging doesn't win genuine connection, it only diminishes your dignity. Instead of begging, practice self-respect. Recognize that while her attention may be desirable, it is not necessary for your happiness or worth. Maintain your boundaries, values, and sense of self. If you've made a reasonable attempt to communicate and receive silence in return, accept that response with grace. Focus on your growth, your goals, your community. Someone who values you won't need to be begged to be in your life. They'll choose to be there willingly. The fourth mistake is one that stems from wounded pride, lashing out in anger. When our attempts at connection are met with silence, it's natural to feel hurt. But some men transform this hurt into hostility, sending angry messages, making accusations, or even publicly criticizing the person who has ignored them. Fine, don't respond. I guess you were just using me all along. You're not even that special anyway. I don't know why I wasted my time on someone like you. This reaction is essentially emotional retaliation, an attempt to inflict the same pain we're feeling onto the other person. But anger rarely accomplishes what we hope it will. It doesn't typically motivate the other person to respond, except perhaps defensively. It doesn't make us feel better in the long run, and it certainly doesn't pave the way for reconciliation or closure. I recall speaking with a young professional who had sent a scathing message to a woman who had stopped responding to him after 3 dates. In this message, he questioned her character, her honesty, and even her intelligence, all because she had chosen not to continue their brief connection. When she finally did respond, it was only to tell him that his reaction had confirmed she'd made the right decision in stepping away. His momentary satisfaction in expressing his anger had cost him any chance of understanding what had actually happened or potentially reconnecting in the future. Anger is often a secondary emotion. Beneath it usually lies hurt, fear, or disappointment. Rather than acting on the anger, acknowledge the vulnerable feelings underneath it. If you feel yourself drafting a message fueled by anger, stop. Step away from your phone or computer, go for a walk, talk to a trusted friend, or journal about your feelings instead. Return to the situation only when you can approach it with clarity rather than rage. Remember, how you handle rejection says more about your character than almost anything else. Responding to silence with dignity and respect, even when it's difficult, speaks volumes about who you are as a person. And ultimately, that's what attracts the right people into your life. Not perfection, but authenticity and emotional maturity. The fifth mistake is perhaps the most subtle yet equally destructive: obsessive analysis and assumption making. When someone ignores us, the human mind abhors the vacuum of information. We want to know why. We need a reason, and in the absence of clear communication, we begin to fill in the blanks ourselves, often with the worst possible scenarios. We replay conversations in our heads, analyzing every word, every gesture, searching for the moment where things went wrong. We make assumptions about what she's thinking, what she's doing, who she might be with. We create entire narratives in our minds, most of which bear little resemblance to reality. She must have gone back to her ex. She's probably laughing about me with her friends right now. I bet she was just using me all along. She must have found someone better. This mental spiral consumes enormous emotional and mental energy. It keeps us stuck in a loop of anxiety and prevents us from moving forward. Worse still, these assumptions often lead to inappropriate responses based on scenarios that exist only in our imagination. I remember counseling a college student who had convinced himself that a woman he'd been dating had ghosted him because she'd reconnected with an ex-boyfriend. Based on this assumption, he confronted her friend at a campus event, demanding information about this supposed reconciliation. In reality, she had been dealing with a family crisis and had temporarily withdrawn from most of her social connections. His assumption-driven behavior not only embarrassed him, but closed the door on any possibility of reconnecting when she was ready. Instead of filling the silence with assumptions, practice acceptance of uncertainty. Yes, not knowing why someone has stopped communicating is uncomfortable, but making peace with that uncertainty is far healthier than creating painful scenarios in your mind. Remind yourself that her reasons for not responding may have nothing to do with you at all. And even if they do, you cannot control another person's feelings or actions. You can only control your response to them. Focus your mental energy on the present moment and the aspects of your life within your control. Engage in activities that fulfill you, spend time with people who value your presence, and pursue goals that excite you. This positive focus not only improves your well-being, but also makes you more attractive to others who might enter your life in the future. Now, my friends, I want to go deeper into what drives these 5 mistakes. Understanding the root causes can help us prevent these reactions before they even begin. At the core of most of these errors is a fundamental misunderstanding about relationships and personal worth. Many of us grow up absorbing messages that tie our value to external validation, particularly in romantic relationships. We're told explicitly or implicitly that having a partner who desires us confirms our worth as men. When that desired attention is withdrawn, it can feel like our very identity is under threat. This explains the intensity of our reactions when someone ignores us. It triggers not just disappointment, but existential fear. But this is a flawed foundation. Your worth exists independent of anyone else's recognition of it. You were created with inherent value that cannot be diminished by someone's lack of response to your text message. Embodying this truth, not just intellectually understanding it, but truly living from this place of self-worth, changes everything about how you respond when someone ignores you. I remember the profound shift in my own life when I finally internalized this reality. After years of tying my self-esteem to romantic validation, I experienced a personal awakening to my inherent worth. The next time I faced the silence of unanswered messages, my response was completely different. Where panic once lived, I found peace. Where desperation once drove my actions, I found dignity. I could honor my desire for connection while simultaneously honoring myself. This inner security doesn't develop overnight. It's cultivated through consistent self-affirmation, through surrounding yourself with people who recognize and reflect your value, through accomplishing goals that matter to you, and through spiritual practices that connect you to something larger than yourself. This journey to genuine self-worth is perhaps the most important work you'll ever do, and its effects extend far beyond how you handle being ignored by someone you care about. Another root cause of these mistakes is misinterpreting what someone's silence actually means. In our hyper-connected world, we've developed an expectation of constant accessibility. Most of us carry devices that keep us perpetually available for communication, creating an implicit assumption that everyone should respond quickly to our outreach. But this expectation doesn't align with reality or respect individual differences. Some people need more time to process their thoughts before responding. Others have different priorities for their attention and energy. Still others might be navigating personal challenges that temporarily reduce their capacity for social connection. Silence doesn't necessarily mean rejection, indifference, or disrespect, though it can sometimes feel that way to the person waiting for a response. Learning to distinguish between temporary unavailability and deliberate distancing is a crucial skill. Context matters greatly here. Has this person typically been responsive in the past? Have there been recent changes in their life circumstances? Has your relationship dynamic shifted recently? These factors can provide clues about what the silence might mean, though ultimately, only direct communication can provide certainty. I once advised a young entrepreneur who was distraught because a woman he'd been dating hadn't responded to his messages for 3 days. He was ready to assume the worst and had drafted a confrontational message demanding an explanation. But upon reflection, he recalled that she had mentioned an upcoming deadline at work that had been causing her significant stress. When she finally did respond, she apologized for her absence and explained that she had been working nearly around the clock to complete a major project. His patience and understanding, rather than assumption and accusation, allowed the relationship to continue developing positively. Of course, not all silence is innocent or temporary. Sometimes people do use silence as a passive way to end relationships or express displeasure. But even in these cases, your response should be guided by self-respect rather than desperation. If someone consistently ignores your reasonable attempts at communication, the message is clear regardless of whether they verbalize it. They are not currently invested in connecting with you. Accepting this reality with dignity serves you better than fighting against it.